Warning: the following presentation includes solely ideas from the US suggestion forums. It doesn't include actual upcoming champions. All abilities have been performed by professional dummies and no champions have been heard in the making.
Greetings fellow summoners, I'm Kachimba and welcome to the first episode of the Community Champion Suggestion Spotlights, or CCSS. Today we will bring you a champion from Slate, called Nur, the Shadetamer. Slate is also a member of our team, and the reason we took his champ is because it is a good example and we all liked it. If you think yours is nice as well, feel free to send it in. There's a link in the description below. Nur is a very mobility-based champion that belongs either onto the top or mid lane, but I'm sure Freak could surely jungle Nur and deal tons of damage. His passive, Twilight Lantern, is his main damage source. It's a lantern that follows Nur around the battlefield. It's essential to master how to position the lantern. It should be your first objective. Depending on its mode, light or shadow, it either flies in front of Nur and throws a shadow itself, or flies behind him and lets him throw the shadow. The shadow deals magic damage each second to all units touching it. Since the passive cannot be leveled, Nur is heavily reliant on itemization and levels to make sure the magic damage per second doesn't fall off during the game. His first ability, Switch, passively increases Nur magic resistance. Also, it changes the lantern light-shadow state, which changes how the lantern projects shadows around. When in light state, the lantern emits light, making Nur himself project a shadow onto the opposite direction. And when in shadow state, Nur becomes the light source and the lantern projects the shadow. Whenever the state is switched, Nur and the lantern swap positions, making it a great getaway tool. You can either stay back and run, or swap towards the front and outplay enemies that were going to compensate for your distance from an enemy. Especially when running flash, this can be a very good combo when you master the position of both you and your lantern simultaneously. Next up is his second ability, Interference, which is a get closer as Nur dives into a champion's shadow, becoming untargetable for a little while and slowing the enemy champion or speeding up the other champion. Note that activating Switch while still being on a champion's shadow will let the effect end earlier. A Gap Closer gives Nur survivability and CC in a teamfight, especially in Light Lantern mode where Nur casts the shadow itself. The ability can be especially devastating since the enemies won't be able to dodge the shadow. His third ability is called Constellate and directly moves the lantern to a specific position in range. By using this ability in combination with the previous ones, he will be able to survive and execute ganks almost flawlessly. Just position the lantern in a safe spot, then dive into champion's shadow. Let your switch follow up when needed and you are fine. The lantern has a certain leash range before it starts following you again. Twilight Flux is the name of his ultimate ability. While being active, the lantern will project a larger and also stronger shadow for a while. The damage will increase as Nur gets closer to the lantern. This is a high-risk, high-reward skill. You will give up your escape for significantly increased bonus damage. You can use interference to dive into a champion, ultimate and place the lantern close to be absolutely devastating in any teamfight. Note that Nur isn't a nuke champion like Vigor or LeBlanc, but rather a sustained damage dealer like Cassiopeia. The fact that he only deals damage according to his passive, which changes depending on his position, is very unique and hard to master. He is more of a smart play champion. As said before, good positioning is crucial to master him. The main problem with Nur is that he does not have a lot of sustain early in the game, so investing in health regen, flat health, or spell vamp is highly recommended. Since he uses his passive to deal damage, his mana won't be very starved, unless his enemy is very aggressive and dodging the shadow. In teamfights, his main objective will be to split the enemy team with his shadow, and should the enemy team ignore you, show them that you can deal high sustained damage to them, especially but not necessarily with the ultimate item. If I ever had the chance to play Nur, I will play him with defensive 0-21-9 masteries, magic penetration marks, armor seals, magic resistance per level glyphs, and flat health quintessences. However, as said before, he is heavily relying on items and levels, so if you're better with him and can work with a low health sustain, a more offensive rune or mastery page will greatly boost his early game power, giving you better harass to get to level 6 quicker. For example, you could swap the quintessences for movement speed for easier positioning or flat AP. A 9-21-0 mastery page could give you some early CDF, so you can position your lantern more often, yet you lose movement speed. I will start my build with boots and pots and build them into boots of swiftness or mercury traits, by a catalyst in between and upgrade to Rod of Ages. After that, I realize Crystal Scepter will boost damage and survivability, and adds a slow to your passive. The last 3 items will then be determined by the way the game is going. Depending on what you're facing, you could get more survivability. Due to the max health percent scaling of the shadow and base magic damage, you don't really need AP for it to deal decent damage. However, when decent damage isn't enough for the situation, you can always get some more AP with a Death Caps or Zonia's Hourglass. Alternately, you can build GP per 5 items on the beginning, since you don't really need the mana from Rod of Ages. Ashuralia's Reverie and Randon's Omen will greatly boost your survivability, as well as the increased CC will greatly help positioning. Since you can use your W, Interference, on an enemy champion and then use Randuin when you get out for an even longer slow, you could fill in many roles due to the relative flexibility of Nur's build. Well, that was our first spotlight. I hope you enjoyed it, and don't forget to thumbs up if you liked it. Also, feel free to subscribe to our channel above or leave a comment below. Have a nice day and see you next time!
Light you can study, shadows you can't.